Okay, hello everyone, and welcome to our first trade panel discussion.
So more space than what it is now? Or
Can
can
everyone mute themselves, please? Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, it gets good.
There's someone not muted. Right. Okay, I'll start again. So welcome everyone to our Trade Association panel discussion today. Thank you very much for being here, and thank you to our chefs and change makers for playing such an exemplary and critical role towards addressing the dire effects of climate change by transitioning towards a plant-based food system. Today's discussion will be about sharing ideas and strategies with each other and with our audience on how you have increased and continue to increase plant-based meals, the most successful types of recipes, as well as the challenges and the key success factors. Each panelist will have about 3 minutes per question, and then we will have a 15-minute Q&A from the audience through the chat. If the audience could please enter your questions in the chat and the person to whom they are being addressed to. And if you could put 3 asterisks ahead of that question so we can spot the questions from the comments, please. Before we start, I'd like to introduce Ina Toncescu and Brian Labatt, who will be fielding the questions in the chat after all the panelists have spoken. Let's take a few minutes for the introduction of our panel, including your name, role, and institution, please. So I've got everybody's name here, so we'll go in that order. As I mentioned, Alicia, unfortunately, I got news about an hour and a half ago that something has come up and she is not able to attend. So I do have a video of LinkedIn of what she had done to convert them to 65% plant-based. So I'll show that first, and then we'll go through with the other speakers. Okay, so let's go in the order that I have here. If everybody could just say a hello and which university or institution that you're from, please. Let's start with Amy, please.
Hello, thank you so much, Eleanor, for having me. So I'm Amy Symington, Chef Amy Symington. I work at HSI Canada as their as part of their forward food team. I'm their culinary nutrition specialist. In addition to that, I also work at George Brown College as a nutrition professor, researcher, and chef. I'm currently doing my PhD in nutritional sciences at the University of Toronto. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, we'll move. I don't know if Tony joined or not. Tony?
Unfortunately not.
No, okay. Then we'll go with Vijay, please.
Hi, my name is Vijay. Vijay Nair. I'm one of the chefs here at the University of Guelph.
Okay. Thank you, Vijay. Pascal? You're on mute, Pascal, sorry.
Sorry, Pascal Fruteau. I'm in charge of the food and beverage and the residences at the University of Montreal.
Thank you. Colin?
Hi, everyone. I'm Colin Porter, the Director of Hospitality Services at the University of Western Ontario, better known as Western University.
Thank you for coming, Colin. Alejandro?
Hello, everyone. My name is Alejandro Velasquez, and I'm the executive chef at Concordia University in Montreal, Quebec.
Thank you. And Valerie?
Hi, everyone. My name is Valerie True. My pronouns are she, her. I'm the director at the University of Guelph Childcare and Learning Center. And I also teach early childhood in the early childhood program at University of Guelph and Guelph Humber. I also was involved in the development of the plant-based nutrition certificate that's being offered at the University of Guelph. And I teach the course implementing a plant-based menu in an institutional setting in that certificate program. And I'm also working on a PhD at the University of Toronto, OISE in social justice education.
Very impressive. Thank you. Lindsay?
Hi, everyone. My name is Lindsay Keisler. I'm the campaign manager for the Plant-Based You initiative which is part of the Canadian University Initiative with Eleanor. The Plant-Based U initiative aims to help students set up campaigns to increase plant-based meals at their university campuses.
Thank you, Lindsay. Jericho, did Jericho join?
I don't see Jericho on the list, sorry.
Oh, okay, sorry, oops. Okay, could you maybe just text him, please, Lindsay, if you haven't already? Thank you. Ilana?
Hi, everybody. My name is Alana Braverman. I'm located in Chicago, Illinois, and I am the co-founder and chief operating officer at Greener by Default.
Thank you, Ilana. And Rihanna, please.
Yes, thank you so much, Eleanor. Hi, everyone. I'm Rihanna Topin. I'm the Senior Campaign Manager with HSI Canada and have the pleasure of running our Forward Food program in collaboration with Chef Amy and our wonderful colleague, Michaela, who's also on the call. Thanks.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. Okay, so I'm going to take this off the screen here. Okay, let me just. And we will start the questions. Okay, so I'll start first with Chef Amy, please. In order to increase plant-based offerings at universities, it is important to provide chefs with the tools and techniques to prepare plant-based meals, given that their prior training generally focused on meat, dairy, and eggs. This past May, you headed a forward food training organized by HSI Canada with 24 chefs at the University of Western Ontario, which included 3 other universities, Guelph, Windsor, and McMaster. Can you elaborate upon the necessity to train chefs in institutions if we want to successfully transition towards plant-based meals, please? And can you tell us how chefs reacted to this training and to the delicious recipes they learned over the course of the 2 days? And do we need to hold these training sessions more often and expand to more universities? Now, I know you have a book, the Long Table Cookbook. So Ina, would you mind please just putting that in the chat? So if people would be interested, they could have the link, please. Thank you.
It is there. Thank you so much. And I should say that all of my author proceeds from that cookbook go to support the nutrition, the social nutritional programming at Gilda's Club Greater Toronto, which is a not-for-profit cancer organization that I also work for. So, but thank you so much for sharing that. And thank you so much for having me, Eleanor.
Thank you.
As a chef and nutrition professor, researcher, PhD student, and then obviously culinary specialist at HSI Canada, the topic of practically applying the evidence in relation to diets for healthier people and a healthier world is something that I am beyond passionate about and have spent my adult career advocating for. So thank you so much for organizing this. So to answer your question, is it important to provide chefs the skill set to include more plant-based foods on their menu? A huge, wholehearted, emphatic yes. This is how we get good food. This is how the good food gets onto people's plates. In this case, the students who are our future generation. The chefs are the frontline workers that are practically applying the recommendations of Canada's Food Guide, the Eat Lancet Plate, and other eating for climate action and nutrition guidelines. So when we are welcomed into university settings or kitchens, like we were with Western University in London, we really just try to focus on having the chefs build upon the culinary skills that they already have. Sure, there are some newfangled techniques that we do pass along, including things like using aquafaba or chickpea water that is often wasted, using lentils, mushrooms, tempeh herbs, and spices in lieu of ground beef, or making cream sauces with nuts or seeds, or using seitan as meaty meat replacements in things like stews and soups and sandwiches. I mean, the examples are endless. The substitutions are endless. But it really just starts with the chefs being open-minded and wanting to add to their already extensive culinary knowledge. So if the chefs are on board, enthusiastic, educated on the why, and have the skill set to make tasty plant-based or plant-forward dishes, the staff serving the food will be on board too, which then makes it easier to bring the students and customers along as well. And then to answer your second question, how chefs react to this training and the recipes over the course of the training. So the reaction is generally overwhelmingly positive, particularly once they taste the food and see that it's just good food that happens to be plant-based and also good for the environment and also good for animal welfare. And usually by the end of the training, they're often very, very proud of their delicious, nutritious, and compassionate work. So the recipes and the food are really what sells our important message. And so the food has to not only be something that the chefs and students or customers are interested in eating. So obviously knowing your school's demographic is very important, but it has to be visually appealing and, of course, tasty, right? And all of which is achievable just using fruits, vegetables, nuts, seeds, legumes, whole grains, and other plant-based proteins in combination with those flavor enhancers. So it's really important to use things like herbs and spices, garlic, ginger, vinegars, and other flavor enhancers. And then to answer your final question, a wholehearted yes, we need to expand these training sessions to more universities across Canada. And the sooner, the better, I would say. And the model that we used at HSI Canada for our last Forward Food Training in London, which brought together 4 universities, so Guelph, McMaster, Windsor, and Western, worked really well in making a big impact, as those chefs in attendance will now go off and be, the plant-based ambassadors for their particular operations. Yeah.
And I saw in the article that the chickpea sliders were kind of a big hit, right?
Yeah. Oh, and they were so beautiful too. That's another thing too, just making them visually appealing, and nobody cared that there wasn't any meat or any animal products in it. They were just tasty. Yeah. And I should say that one's from my book as well.
Well, thank you for everything you do. And hopefully we're working with Rihanna to maybe try to expand more universities with Forward Food over the next academic year. So thank you for everything you do, Amy, and thank you for that cookbook. We'll show the video at the end just to make sure that we cover everybody first with respect to Chef Alicia. So we'll move to question 2 to the executive chefs. So firstly, thank you all for having participated and excelled in our 2-year initiative and for the exemplary leadership that you have shown. What has been the feedback from students and staff with respect to increased plant-based meals, and what have been your most successful dishes that you would recommend to others? And have you started to notice a change in attitudes over the last 2 years of the initiative with respect to more plant-based foods? So I don't think Tony is here yet. So Vijay, could we start with you, please?
Yep. At Guelph, I think generally the feedback has been very good and positive. Apart from what we gather from student feedback in terms of comment cards and our text intel program, we also meet with them bi-weekly. We have a student body called the HSAC. It's the Hospitality Student Advisory Committee. It's about 35 students who represent the various residences, the off-campus students, the grad students, the university center admin. So we meet with them every 2 weeks. They are really our eyes and ears on the ground. They meet with the residence advisors and everybody else. And we do get constant requests. And in the last 2 years, I'm jumping to the last bit. In the last 2-3 years, we've seen there's more and more demand and more requests for plan forward dishes. So that is a good sign. And with our menus, like you mentioned in various platforms, we have at Guelph, we have a very flexible menu, if you may. We do have a cyclic menu, but we have a flexible menu in the sense that we give a lot of freedom for our chefs and cooks to take a call on tweaking menus and depending on what we have in stock. So we have a fixed menu, but we also give them a lot of freedom. So it has helped us. We have over 15 or 16 different ethnic backgrounds that are represented in our kitchen. And it has helped us that they have brought in a lot of their own dishes and a lot of flavors. We work with them every couple of weeks, tweak the menus, and we give them a lot of freedom. And we have a lot of different suppliers. We source from a lot of different people who are be it Middle Eastern, or be it South Asian, or be it be it East Asian. We have quite a few. I mean, we are lucky again. We are closer to Toronto, so we do get a lot of different and almost anything that we need. So it's good for a group. In terms of success, again, what has helped us with our success is just good tasting food. There's no other way around it. For people to choose plant-forward food, the food's got to look good, it's got to be attractive. When they buy it, it's got to smell good. I mean, it's got to have good aroma. And good mouthfeel, and for some reason, and it has to, create some kind of an emotion for people who buy it, and they have to go, wow, and there's no other way around it. So that is what drives success. That is what drives popularity of dishes. Best-selling plant-based dishes, we have quite a few. Again, a lot of them are we have like I said, we have hundreds of different dishes that we tried every year. And it typically is something. It's always something that is fresh and lots of good flavor. That really sums up what we serve. Attitudes to plant-forward dining. Yes, it is definitely changing, and it's definitely on the right course, I would say. Also, a bigger part for us to do, apart from doing good food, is also about marketing it or telling the story right. It also is important that we educate ourselves and our chefs and our cooks. So that is why with the Forward Food program, it helps our people, because even our cooks are surprised how good plant-forward food can be. And I know that kind of helps break a few shackles when they come back and look at a menu board and say, hey, these are things that we're going to change and we're going to do. So that helps. So obviously training, more exposure, more education, and that's the way to go.
Excellent. And all those pictures that I've seen from your site there look really delicious, and too bad we're not closer, but I'd come by as well. So yeah, thank you, Vijay, for everything that you've done.
Thank you.
Okay, who would like to go next? Colin, perhaps?
Sure, thanks, Alan. I can jump right in. I guess for us at Western, we're probably restarting our journey, I would say. I think Rihanna and her team were here back in 2019, which was before my time at Western. And then before we could get any true traction, I guess a pandemic got thrown into the mix. So it sort of halted everything. So this was a good restart for us, because the past school year was a bit of a consolidation, sort of restarting school all over again type scenario. So it was a bit of a consolidation year for us, but going into this September, we wanted to really hit the ground running and sort of reinvigorate our program, and bringing Rihanna and her team back to work with us and the 3 other universities was key, just to refocus our minds on plant-forward food. So we know the demand is there. We unfortunately do not have student meetings regularly, but we're changing that for September. So we will have student town halls. So we'll get more regular feedback, but we certainly don't have any student dining committees on this campus, but we're changing that, and essentially we'll start with town hall meetings. So we'll get lots of feedback then. But general conversation we've had with some students is that they've made a decision to either be vegan or want to eat more vegan choices within their diet throughout the week. So for me, the student population has already made that decision, because it's aligning with their values towards climate change. I think our piece in it all is, how do we get staff and faculty on board? And what I really liked about the session that we've just done with Rihanna and her team is that we invited senior people to attend the lunch sessions on those 2 days. And the first day, of course, it was a bad timing as well, because there's not many people around university at this time of year. So lots of people were checking out on vacation or taking some deserved break time away from the university. So it was tough to get, dare I say it, we thought 25 people, but the first day we were getting 30 plus returning invites. And we were struggling for the second day unless we invited the same people back again. What was really interesting, after, midway through the lunch on that first day, people were coming up to me and saying, can we come back tomorrow? This food is excellent. And that's what we wanted. We wanted to change perception at that level from a staff and faculty piece standpoint, and not just in other departments. Within our own department, the front of house team that we often talk about, I think the culinary team are ready to embrace it, but sometimes it's our front of house team who have to deliver the message, who are struggling with it, in traditional mediators. So it was great to have them embrace what we were serving in those 2 days. But it was great to see return people come back on that second day. And since then, all we've heard about is, so how are we making progress? And we committed to do 40% because we were starting off, dare I say it, behind the 8 ball. We were starting off at a low, I would say a low percentage, but we committed to being 40% by January of 2024. We're now confident we'll hit that in September of this year. So, so we're being, dare I say it, our team's being aggressive, which is great, which is the reaction that we wanted. So I think for me, we know the student population are ready for it. I think we had to change some of our perceptions within our own team, but also, dare I say it, faculty and staff. And some of the older generation, not them all, some have moved in the right direction, but we have to bring them along too. And some of them are now beginning to hold us accountable. Said, you told us you were going to do this. Can you give us some progress updates? So that's been great. And it's thanks to, I guess, the food that was created on the 2 days. And we really are focusing our message around, it's not about plant forward, it's about just great food at the end of the day and making sure that people are able to taste it, sample it. So once you put this food in your mouth, you're converted right out of the gate for me. So it was thanks to that event that we're making some progress. Not to say we hadn't done things before, but I don't think it was, front and center in our minds. So dare I said, we were ticking the boxes. I'll be honest and say, I think we were ticking some boxes, but now we're shifting our mindsets. When you walk into our operations, those plant forward concepts will be front and center, not the last concept that you're going to travel through. Even in our retail program, which was your traditional brands, your traditional national brands, we're talking to some vegan fast food operators right now. One that we'll certainly have opened here in September for sure, possibly a second one by January of next year. So we're moving in the right direction, I would say. That being said, we've had some really good successes, I would say, with one menu or one concept, which was Nourish Bowls, which are very much customization. But there was certainly out of 14 Nourish Bowls that we developed, 50% of those were vegan. So what we're trying to do is how do we present that? Because always there's the Nourish Bowls are presented that you can add a meat protein. So trying to change how we present it in the marketing piece to say everybody knows they can get the meat protein. Should we really focus on the non-meat proteins and add those and have them front and center? So we continue to have this conversation. So the feedback's been good in what we're attempting to do. And I think our messaging around marketing, et cetera, is really all about, this is just great food. It's not about plant-based, plant forward. So when you start to put those terms out there, one day somebody's saying plant-based, the next day they're saying plant forward. So we just said, let's focus on just great food at the end of the day and make sure that it's presented well and people are able to taste it and sample it.
Are the students making the connection more so now than before with respect to food and climate change, do you find?
I find that that's when we talk to students, when I talk to students, that's what they're focusing their minds on is, hey, we're all part of the solution. And for them, that they would say, we're all, custodians of the earth. So we want to do our bit in terms of climate change.
Okay. Yeah, good. Thank you. Thank you for all those updates. Okay, let's move to Pascal, please. University of Montreal.
Okay, so just for my English, can you repeat please the question? I remember
Yes,
a second,
yes.
there's the feedback, but just to assimilate.
Maybe I'll do them one at a time so that it's
Yeah,
maybe.
please.
Okay, so first of all, what has been the feedback from students and staff with respect to increased plant-based meals?
Okay, but so feedback is generally very positive, and we need to create changes and variations in the menus to stimulate them also. We're always working to have alternatives and new items, new ideas, new creations. So if it was just new items or changing the menus, and feedback is positive. I have the impression that we had more success with the plant-based menu a little time ago than now. So I don't know if it's a cultural change or if it's a generational change or why it goes down. Maybe we have to promote more, because at the beginning of the year, we tried again the vegan Monday, but with only vegan options. So you had no meat at all. And the sales were really falling down. So we had to find little solutions because we also have to take care of the revenue, of course, to operate. But and this makes us to think about new receive, to find new options and to be more creative, to stimulate. I think it's just to renew ourselves. Even if we have always the option, I mean, if a vegan person comes, you will always find something. You have the vegan, everything is, we can find everything what we have in animal protein and vegan style. But the people on that moment, they saw it several times, and we always have to change. And as Colin told, at this period now, it's more difficult because it's very empty at the university. So we can not put a big mise en place. We cannot put a lot of products because we don't have, compared to other universities, we don't have the residences and the meal plan. And in French, Francophone universities, you don't have a meal plan. And this is a very big volume when you have the people eating at the evening and 3 times a day. And
Yes.
we have majority just the daily customers, the students who are here during the day and the staff. But the student generation is much more attracted by vegan offers than the staff or elder generations also.
For sure. Yeah, the Gen Zs.
Yeah.
Let me see if in that, if there's any of the questions that hadn't been answered, what have been your most successful dishes that you would recommend to others? Let's say that were big hits that you
I think
sold out.
it's a really simple thing is to take the General Tao tofu with rice, and if it's well prepared, the people really like it. We have Indian style curries also. This is nice because you have so many aromas, so many flavors and spices, and this is very attractive. And since we put again the salad bar, we modified a little bit our help yourself salad bar in the cafeteria, and we removed all the animal protein. And so the people can have the choice. They know that there's no animal somewhere, and nobody could touch with a spoon or on a serving dish something with meat. So it ratios. That's why it works very well.
Okay, very good. Thank you. And the change in attitudes, have you noticed that change over the last 2 years of this initiative? I know, COVID sort of changed everything, so maybe it's not.
Changed a lot. But when we talk about the attitude of the persons, because we're talking about the GS in general and not only vegan or what concerns the protein. And this year we removed totally in our counters and at the cafeteria the single-use containers. So we found solutions. We have no more. You cannot find any more cup, single-use cup in even at the counters or the cafeteria. And so we worked a lot more. I think we more put the accent on the containers and not the recycling, but just to find solution to have no single use but reutilizable containers, and put a lot of energy on this. And this worked very well. We had a lot of, and to come on the point, we had most of the people were very happy, but the fact that the people had to change the habitudes to bring their own container or to go with an application with a QR code where you can rent for free your containers to fill for the coffee. The people want us to be ecological. They want us to do things, but often if they have to change or to pay more, then it's much more difficult because we are selling the food, so we have to do everything. But as Colin told also before, it's a part of everybody, and everybody has to do an effort. And many people want to change, but they are not ready to do the effort. And this is sometimes a little bit. This goes a lot across to communication, to educate, and to explain. But we lost when we started this. We lost many guests who wanted just their coffee and one single-use cup, and so they went somewhere else. They went to the Café Étudiant or something. But we lost guests for them. But I think one moment everybody will go this way also, so it will be an habitude, like the plastic bags in the supermarket.
Okay, well, thank you for all those insights, Pascal. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so we'll move to Alejandro from Concordia University.
Yeah, hi. The feedback from students has been very positive. I think the key in our success, it's been in creating dishes that aren't processed, so less already bought stuff and more homemade dishes, which are more, we have more fresh herbs. They're full of flavor, just like what they were mentioning, or we're going a little bit more in spicy flavors and bright flavors. And the feedback has been very good. I would say, especially when we do some of our best dishes are things that are fun. So like tacos. I mean, most of the stuff we do when we do tacos or enchiladas, tostadas, anything Latin, we run out. We can hardly keep up. I mean, they're so popular. On top of that, obviously the classics are always there, like butter tofu, ramen, Buddha bowls, poke bowls. They're super popular. They're fresh, and I think they're more appreciated when they see there's more elements. So texture, flavor, spiciness, brightness, acid. I think that's key. That's pretty much, we do that almost in every dish, whether it's hot, salad, grill, our burgers. We try to make them homemade, vegan burgers, obviously. And yeah, so we had a lot of success this past semester because we went away a little bit from things that we used to buy already pre-made, and we started making them ourselves, and that helped a lot. And the feedback was super good. The next question was, yeah, the attribute to be successful with plant-based dishes was the same as I just said, you know, it's flavor, freshness, homemade dishes that are appealing, but also is, I think one good thing Concordia has, which Claudette is leading, is we do have targets for everything we purchase. So anything from plant-based and vegan versus animal protein, we have targets to respect, and I think we're doing a lot of work to try to balance the whole menu, and we're hoping to get, we have a target for 2025, and we're hoping to have a third of our offerings being vegan, a third vegetarian, and a third animal-based protein, which is going to be huge. We're slowly getting there. We were already pretty good. So I'm pretty confident that we're going to make it. And that's a big one. And
vegetarian to vegan can be done fairly quickly, right? I mean,
yeah, but we also have, that's one of the feedbacks we have when we push it a little bit too much and we do all vegan everywhere. Well, some of the students that are vegetarian, well, they do want their cheese or their egg, or so that's why we have to balance the whole menu to please everybody, but also stay consistent and try to push as much plant forward food.
Okay, thank you very much, Alejandro. Thank you.
You're
Okay, we're going to move along so we can get everybody in, plus the question period, and we will go to Valerie True, the Director of the Child Care and Learning Center at the University of Guelph. Thank you for being here. So many thanks and congratulations for the progressive leadership that the University of Guelph CCLC has shown in the transition to a fully plant-based menu in 2020. One of the outstanding tools that we have seen from the CCLC is the detailed nutritional analysis, which must be such an important selling point to the parents. What have been the benefits of streamlining all menus to plant-based, and what has been the feedback from parents? And then I have another question, but we'll wait for that one, please, Valerie.
Yeah, so we did complete a nutritional analysis as part of shifting to a plant-based menu. We actually don't share the nutritional analysis with families. We're already a highly regulated field. And so our menus already have to meet a certain criteria that the province has. And so we have the nutritional analysis more in our back pocket in case we get challenged. And it has come up recently. So whenever somebody says, I just don't think they're getting enough fat or protein or calories, I can pull out the nutritional analysis and say, actually, they're getting 300% of their protein, they're getting, 160% of the fat and 180% of the calories. So depending on the day. So the nutritional analysis has been more of a tool that we've used if we've been challenged. But it's something that we wanted to make sure that we had in place before moving forward. So we couldn't be told no, basically, when we wanted to do it. And then we do update it. As we update our menu, we're in a big menu overhaul right now as we speak, because children too have, tastes and preferences. We do let menus go a long time with children. Obviously the population that you're serving makes a difference. When it comes to children, they often have to be offered a meal or a food up to 15 times before they might accept that food. So a big part of our strategy also is using very positive communication and positive language around eating. We use the division of responsibilities in feeding. So children get to choose how much they consume, and adults are responsible to choose what they're eating, when they're eating, and where they're eating, and then children choose how much or if they eat. So that takes away power struggles. We don't get into power struggles with children. We also don't use terms like picky eater. That would be labeling a child who might just not have acquired a specific taste yet. So there's just a lot of strategies that we use and that we try to impart on families as well. And by doing that, I think we've had a great reception from families. When we first went plant-based, that was when it came up more, because it was the families were already there. And so when we went plant-based, it was a change. Now it's who we are. And so all the families, because it's been 3 years, so all of our families are families who've come to us knowing that we are plant-based, knowing a lot about our menu. Many came for that reason, because they know that we're plant-based. They know that we reduced our carbon footprint by 65%. So now it's just part of who we are. So it's much easier. We don't really get challenged by families because, hey, you knew what we were getting into when you signed on with us. So it really doesn't come up anymore. I can't remember if I answered all your questions.
Well, there's just the last part here with respect to the plant-based nutrition certificate and the course on institutional plant-based menu and institutional setting. We're running a little short of time because we'd like to go to the question period a little bit later. Ina, I think you have the links for those two courses, right?
Yes, and I've already put them in the chat, but I'll put them one more time in case anyone missed it.
Can you
Awesome. Thank you for doing that, Ina Maria.
Yeah, we'd love more people to take those courses. Just very quickly, Valerie, can you just give a quick overview of the plant-based certificate and the this institutional setting course, the plant-based menu in an institutional setting that'll be offered this summer, please?
Yeah, for sure. The in terms of the plant-based nutrition certificate, so it's basically 5 required courses and 2 electives. So it's 7 courses long. It can be completed in about a year. Some courses, I believe, are offered concurrently, so you can take up to 2 at a time, but you could also take 1 at a time. The next course that's being offered is the one that I teach, which is implementing a plant-based menu in an institutional setting. But the other courses, so as an example, the 5 required courses are an introduction to plant-based diets, nutritional benefits and considerations, disease prevention and management, diets and their environmental impacts, and policy implications of plant-based diets. And then the electives include the one that I'm teaching this summer. The course that I'm teaching, implementing a plant-based menu in an institutional setting, basically goes over I should have mentioned, each course is 4 weeks long, and it's up to 5 or 6 hours of studies per week. And And so the course that I'm teaching though has the units that basically are looking at what are the benefits, and that includes operational benefits, not just the nutrition, the sustainability, but also all the other operational benefits in terms of efficiency, inclusion, cost even. And then the next unit is on nutritional program considerations. And then there's a more practical unit on planning a plant-based menu for an institution. And then the last unit is on effective implementation to sustain that change.
Okay, thank you so much for everything you do. Really, it's just amazing. And thank you for offering those courses.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Important educational tool. Thank you. Okay, so we'll move over to Lindsay. I think we've covered all the prior ones. Lindsay, yes. I'm not sure if Jericho is there. No? Okay.
I
So
don't think so.
thank you for your outstanding work that you've been doing over the course of the last year. From a student perspective, can you comment on the student plant-based movement in Canada? Is it accelerating? And university chefs would likely be more apt to increase plant-based meals if there were a stronger demand and a louder voice for them. What advice can you give to students to be more vocal and action-oriented in accelerating the transition? Because they're the ones that really will be facing the most dire consequences of climate change.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Thank you. I think it is accelerating for sure, as some of the chefs have attested to that fact. Students are very much on board. And we've certainly received a lot of interest and positive responses at the outset of this initiative. Whether or not students were actually able to commit the time to participate and execute the campaigns, it's certainly the interest and enthusiasm is there. So that's why I think it's important for us to be able to help connect students with materials and resources to help them succeed with their campaign goals, while obviously focusing on their studies at the same time. Tips for success, obviously education is so important, as has already been discussed by the other speakers, from social media to things like postering around campus and getting out there and handing out flyers at tabling events, just to really get the word out and educate people on the impact of their food choices. I think another big one that we're focusing on now, or looking ahead to the next year, is really increasing our numbers and building alliances among other student groups across campus. For any chefs or senior leadership that maybe don't see the student demand for more plant-based meals, we obviously really need to be as vocal and demonstrate that need and desire from as many students as possible. And also, as some of the chefs have mentioned, it's all about good food at the end of the day, food that tastes really good. And so we're trying to work with some of the chefs on sort of like pop-up events, particularly at the University of Alberta right now, pop-up events where we're showcasing plant-based food, just so that students can sample it and just see how good it is. And yeah, so that's kind of where we're at. And I think that's where we're headed, to get the word out.
Well, thank you. Really, I think you've done an excellent job with your team over the course of the last year, and hopefully we'll bring that to the next level in the next school year. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, the last questions will go to Ilana and Rihanna. So Ilana, there seems to be a growing demand for plant-based defaults over the course of the last 2 years, example in New York City. Could you talk about the driving forces for this increased acceptance of plant-based defaults? Has the educational part of plant-based food with respect to health and the environment been a growing trend in the healthcare, municipal, and educational success stories? Please. Thank you.
Yeah, those are both great questions. To start off, in terms of the driving forces for increased acceptance, I feel like a few years ago, there were a lot of questions about plant-based diets. Were the why? Is this really more sustainable? What about protein? But now it's pretty remarkable. We rarely get asked any questions about like if there are benefits of a plant-based diet. People kind of take that as a given that it's more sustainable for the environment. So I think now that we've gotten past that hump and most of the questions are revolving around the how, we've gotten to the next step there, which is why people are considering more than just having a vegan option, but using a plant-based default to make it the norm and make significant changes to their menu because of it. In terms of hospitals specifically, since you mentioned the New York hospital plant-based default, we've really seen a growing interest in hospitals specifically trying to meet their carbon reduction goals while tying that to wanting to assess chronic illness and obviously still wanting to achieve patient satisfaction. So switching up a menu to do plant-based by default or offering a majority of plant-based options on a bigger menu, which some hospitals have 1 or 2 options, some hospitals have 30 options a day. So just working on the ratio on that menus is a really good way to help hospitals kind of meet all of those goals at once and stay within their budget and potentially even save money. And to answer your question about education, I want to give a big shout out to both the American College of Lifestyle Medicine and also New York City's Lifestyle Medicine Clinic, who are really leading the way, and I'm sure there are others as well, on the educational piece to raise awareness and provide resources for those who need it on the benefits of a plant-based diet. And in New York, I think the two, the plant-based default and the Lifestyle Medicine Clinic, obviously play hand in hand. So education is a big piece of that. And also Samantha Morgenstern is just one example of a great leader. She's the Senior Director of Nutrition Services at Sodexo. And when they rolled that program out, she was educating staff and patients and everybody about how this initiative kind of impacted them and how best to get plant-based meals to patients and such. So that was really important. Lastly, I'll say in terms of education, I'd say it's a little bit different when we're working with like hospital versus a university or a corporation. Our messages for universities, as some of the chefs have noted too a little bit here, tends to focus more on taste and flavor and the diversity of dishes. So in terms of education, we might not be like telling a student that, you know, this is going to save X gallons of water compared to this dish, depending on what that audience wants to hear. So there's kind of a delicate balance between drawing too much attention to certain things and then potentially having people think that, you know, they're not as delicious, or just calling attention to the fact that this is the special of the day, or this is a new dish that we've created and it was taste tested among these people and won this award. Things like that are more the educational message I would say we focus on in those situations.
Well, excellent, really. You've done an amazing job. I mean, we've worked with you over the course of the last 2 years, and you've really been instrumental in advancing the whole movement. I mean, in both Canada and the US. So thank you very much. Okay, Rihanna. So Forward Food has also been an outstanding pillar of success with the universities. How many universities have now had this training, and what has been the feedback that you've been receiving? Has there been a growing request for the calculation of food emissions? And for our audience, can you explain how the food emission program works? And I think maybe you were going to put that in the chat instead, so feel free to address it the way you prefer. Thank you.
Thank you so much for the question and for the kind words. And of course, thanks to all of the wonderful universities on this call who we've had the pleasure of working with. So we have done a lot of work with universities over the last 6 years. Since 2017, we've done a total of 28 trainings now, and 18 of those have been specifically with universities. But we've also done some trainings that include a mixed group of participants from different sectors. So, including some colleges and universities there. And then I've also done additional, workshops or events that included universities. So the total number that we worked with would be higher. But as Amy said, the feedback has been so positive. We hear consistently, and Colin gave us a great testimonial today for that. Thank you. That the food is really delicious, and that, the resources and the information that we share is generally considered to be very valuable, and that, things like our trainings and workshops are a really fun and creative learning experience for entire teams as a chance to get together and just, open their minds, as we talked about. So I would definitely say the greenhouse gas emissions assessment that we offer is certainly something that appeals to a lot of the folks that we work with as well. Knowing that sustainability is a driving force behind a lot of these changes that we're seeing on campus towards more plant-based foods. I think there's a lot of interest in, measuring and evaluating the food-related greenhouse gas impact or greenhouse gas emissions of foods and menus before any changes are made and then afterwards. But it is a fairly onerous process. I will be honest about, collecting the data required. So I would say we've done 5 assessments so far in Canada over the last few years, mainly again for universities, but it's not always feasible for everyone to do it. So I can put just the breakdown of how it works in the chat if that's helpful, but to give you a quick overview, essentially we work with whoever we're working with to determine which time period we want to analyze. So we recommend at least a month, but it usually look at something like a 3 or 6 month period or even a year. Get all of the purchasing data from that time. It could be for the whole campus or all residence dining halls, for example, or just one, depending on what data is available. And then we have a Excel spreadsheet, a template that we use to collect the data about what foods are procured and in what quantity. And it focuses more on whole foods rather than very processed foods with a lot of ingredients, because without knowing the quantities of ingredients in those items, it's very difficult to assess what kind of impact they have in terms of greenhouse gas emissions. And even if we did know the quantities, it would be very detailed and a lot of work to assess the impact of one particular product. So we tend to focus more on, cuts of meat or dairy products or, butter, milk, cheese, yogurt, things that are easier to measure, as well as, fruits and vegetables and breads and different products that don't have as many ingredients as say a frozen pizza, for example. Then we work with a consultant to get an estimate for the emissions generated by all of that food procurement. And it is an estimate. Obviously, the science in this area isn't perfect, but it's the best available, sort of information we have about food-related GHGs. And we tend to see the same story over and over again that, animal products like meat and dairy might make up the minority of what an institution is purchasing when it comes to volume or weights, but they typically account for the majority or the vast majority of the operations food-related GHG emissions. And so there's a huge opportunity for changing that, which is great, as we all know. And then what we can do afterwards is, after changes have been made at an operation, say, an institution has signed our Forward Food Pledge and achieved it, then we can do a post-intervention assessment to see what has changed in terms of greenhouse gas emission savings, to be able to tell that part of the sustainability story for a campus. So I will recap that in the chat, as well as share our email address and website. We do have an example of a GHG emissions impact report posted there for anyone who wants to see it. And of course, if anyone has seen Valerie's report of the GHG savings at the CCLC, it's also a really great resource to just show how much you can save in terms of environmental impact by shifting towards more plant-based menus.
Well, those are invaluable services, really, and I'm so glad, and we're also glad that you're offering those, because they're just so important, both the training and the calculation of greenhouse gas emissions. And I know from the example of University of Victoria, it made a big difference in terms of their menu changes. So yeah, thank you very much, Rihanna, and your team. Okay, well, we don't have much time left, but we would like to go to the questions in the chat if we can. So I'm not sure, Ina or Brian, if you've picked up some questions that we could ask, and if you could call them out, please.
I myself don't have any questions for anyone or that I can see in the chat right now.
There's no questions? Okay.
None that I saw.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just scanning through them. Okay. So, well, that's perfect then. I mean, we're at the end of the hour, and again, I want to express my gratitude. I mean, when we first started this back in 2020, I didn't know where it was going to go. I met a lot of great people. I mean, Ilana and Rihanna, you were instrumental in, I think, most of or all of the successes today. Valerie, I mean, finding out that you were 100% plant-based was just amazing. And the chefs, I mean, I've worked with, really, really great people, very cooperative and helpful. I know change is hard, but, if we see what's been going on lately with these forest fires here in Canada, if you have a choice, it's the lesser of the difficult choices that have to be made. So I want to thank all the chefs. I mean, we would not be moving ahead if you hadn't done the extraordinary in terms of changing the food, changing the attitudes and the perception. and hopefully also getting away from calling things vegan. I think from the 5 Ps, we realized that that's really not a good way to sell vegan food. So really appreciate it. Everybody here played an important role. And oh, I see Ina has her hand up. So we'll take Ina's question. But I just want to express my gratitude to all of you because you each played a very important role. So thank you very much. And we'll move to Ina.
Yeah, actually, there's a question in the chat from Yazan Kanan asking if there are any challenge in all-you-can-eat environments.
Sorry, could you repeat that, Ina?
I can repeat that. Yeah. So the question comes from Yazan asking any challenge in an all-you-can-eat environment.
Okay, I'm not sure who's that directed to, but would somebody like to answer that question? Any challenge in an all-you-can-eat environment?
I'll jump in quickly. We don't have an all-you-can-eat. It's something that I'm looking to move us towards, but I don't foresee a challenge for sure. I don't know if David Spade is still on the call because David went all-you-can-eat at UBC, so maybe he can answer it better because he's already got that program up and running. But I don't know if he's still on the
Yeah, I am Colin, and I'm happy to jump in as we did just do that. And I think there's pros and cons for sure. Not really challenges. I think the pros definitely include, I mean, you can write the menus however way you like and design them that way. So for us, we have a 60% commitment to vegetarian offerings, and of those 60%, additional 50% of those, so 30% total, are vegan. And so you can design the menu however way you like. And one of the positives, I think, is students are more willing to try different things because there isn't a cost associated. They could have as much of anything as they like. So we did see more experimenting with new dishes, and a lot of those are plant-based dishes. So definitely a positive. But one thing we did see as a negative, and it was a bit of an unforced error that we kind of learned as we went along, was because there's no prices associated with any of the food anymore once they're in our environment, we realized people potentially were choosing the plant-based offering more often previously because of the lower price point. And now that goes away. So a lot of them that were choosing the plant-based because it was more affordable now are migrating back towards a meat-based dish. So that was a bit of a learning for us to understand. So we're going to combat this year with just more education around the importance of eating plant-based. We do have our climate-friendly food label in place at all 3 of our locations this year. And no surprise, our plant-based offerings all land within the green category, and our meat-based offerings land within the red category. So we're hoping to help continually to inform, to shift their decision. But there was a bit of a slip on our uptake of plant-based offerings based on price being taken out of the equation. So that's what I would say.
Thank you, David. And I just want to give a shout out to you, David, because really, if it weren't for you, if we wouldn't have started, if you hadn't volunteered to be the speaker back in December of 2020, I'm not sure where we would have been today. So that was really, really an important milestone. So just want to thank you very much for that.
Well, thank you, Eleanor. And just, it's been so positive to watch this group come together and all the different advancements across universities across Canada. So good work to everybody on this call for leading that charge.
Thank you all. Ina, you have your hand up?
I do. So there was another question. I'm not sure who it's for. It's from Dawn. Do you have plans to build guidelines for rolling this out internationally, or has it already started?
No, I have not. It could be done. And hi, Dawn. Yeah, it's something that could be done for sure. I mean, the recipe is fairly simple. I think what's really important is the attitude of the players. Are they willing to participate? That's the most important thing. And I think we've been quite lucky here that everyone got on board, and for different reasons, it succeeded. But yeah, we can work towards putting something like that together. And we're hoping, I am working with some people now in Quebec to address more of the French universities as well. I've been speaking to Rianne about that in terms of offering forward food training and so on. So yeah, we can do many things. It does take, you know, people to put effort into it, but it certainly can be done. And, you know, we can talk about it later, because I know, I mean, maybe you want to disclose you're from SRAG, which is part of the Rotarians, and they are worldwide. So that would be a good channel to kind of spread the message. Okay, thank you, Don, for that. Okay, we're just after 5, and I do want to respect the time. The LinkedIn video I can send out to everyone. So if you'd like to take a look at it, that was a really good success as well. They went to 65% plant-based. So that was great. So I want to thank you all again. Very appreciative of your time, your knowledge, and especially your efforts. I know it's difficult. Change is always difficult, but I think we've come to a point where it's inevitable. We have to change. So thank you very much. And be talking to you in the fall probably. So have a great summer and thank you so much.
Thank you, Eleanor.
Thank you.